Hello and welcome to today's speed build. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining us, and if not, then welcome back. So today we're building in the world of Tartosa, and we recently got the Newcastle estate kit, and I was super excited about this kit from the get-go. I started by doing like a little review on my thoughts, and then as soon as the kit came out, I started building like immediately, but unfortunately I was actually at my boyfriend's house when the kit came out, so I ended up building on his computer. And with The Sims, your data doesn't transfer, or at least mine doesn't, so I don't have like that build in my save on my computer. So when I got back to my house, I was like, what can I build that's, a castle, but it's kind of different from what I was building over there? And that's when I came up with the idea to build today's video, which is a sandcastle. I thought this was really fun. I've never built a sandcastle in The Sims 4. I've never attempted to build one, and I just thought this was really fun and something that was kind of different for me because, yeah, it's not something that I typically do. Now, this sandcastle is actually also a family home. I wanted it to be functional so that you can use it for your Sims and you can have your Sims live in here, and it just sort of resembles a sandcastle on the outside. Now, I did follow the theme to the interior, so like there is a lot of sandy looking things on the inside, but mainly I just wanted it to look like a sandcastle on the outside and feel like a proper sandcastle. Now, I went very traditional with the way it looks. I feel like it just looks kind of basic, but I wanted it to be very recognizable is what it is, and I think I did a good job. I think it looks okay. Now, it actually ends up being a really decent sized home. There's enough room for 3 Sims, so there ends up being 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And yeah, it's got quite a bit of room. It was kind of, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it was kind of awkward. Please just never attempt to build a house that has multiple round rooms, because I did experience a lot of issues with this build and with just rooms glitching out, literally rooms disappearing, things disappearing, the walls going black. There was a lot of problems, and that wasn't very fun, but I did not experience any problems during gameplay, so don't worry about that. You should be able to download this perfectly and it should be okay. It really is just when I was in the process of building, there was a lot of problems, and I think it's just that round walls really need a buff. They need to come in and like fix round walls, because I have used round walls before, but as you can see, there's quite a lot in this build and it's a little bit too much. Maybe it's my bad. I guess I used a little bit too many round walls, but I just had so much trouble with connecting the round walls. You're not allowed to connect a round room to a square room, and that's really annoying. It's really not fun to have to deal with, but I think I made it work. Okay, I think it works pretty well and it is functional, and I do really like how it turned out, so I hope you guys do too. Now, just before we like get into the video properly and talk about things, I do just want to say real quick that first of all, thank you guys so much for all the support on my last video. You guys were so kind and so sweet, and I just really appreciate that. But I wanted to apologize for the audio in my last video being so like messed up. I pretty much had only edited the first audio clip to be the volume that I wanted, and then the other volume clips, were too loud, and I don't know if that maybe happened through an accidental undo or if I had just not set it and not realised. But yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I noticed it when I went on to look at my video. I like to sort of watch them sometimes just to make sure that they are okay. I always watch my videos before I upload them, but sometimes I get really paranoid that like I've really messed up editing somewhere, or I've like not included a whole clip, or my voice doesn't line up with with the audio, something like that. So anyway, I watched it back and I realised, and that's why I was like, I'm so sorry, but hopefully it wasn't too bad. Hopefully you could still kind of hear me. Like, I know it was kind of annoying. I did try and fix it, but YouTube doesn't really have an option, not that I could find, where it like lets you edit existing videos on your channel. Let me know if that's wrong. Let me know if they do. But yeah, so it was quite a shame. But yeah, I'm going to double, triple, quadruple check that the audio in this video is okay. But I just thought I'd mention that to you guys. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the build. So as you can see, I'm doing that outside right now, and I love what I did with the terrain. I was sort of stuck for a little while because I was like, well, it's a sandcastle, I don't really know what to add. But then I came across these rocks in debug, and these rocks sort of resemble sand. I know that they're rocks and you can tell they are rocks, but I feel like they have that really sandy color, and if you don't think they look like sand, they at least look like they should be there. They kind of look like they're maybe covered in sand and they're on a sandy beach. So I really loved how that looked. I ended up taking away the little pool that I had made. You've probably seen it just briefly. I took that away just because I didn't really like that the stones didn't match these stones. I was being really particular about this build, but I added these little starfish all around the place, and I thought it looked so cool. I also had starfish to like the little balconies, which, by the way, the balconies are accessible. Most of them, obviously the little enclosed ones, like the round room ones and things, they're not accessible because I physically couldn't make them, but anything that I could try and make accessible, I did. So hopefully that's okay. Hopefully you like that. But here's me adding a lot of sand around the place, and this I thought was so nice looking. I needed something to kind of break up the empty space between the sea and the, you know, the environment, and then like the stones around the castle, and that's why I put in the sand, and it looks really cute. I had like a really good time with the sand because I didn't find that it was clipping too much. It was actually quite easy to place and get everything in place. So yeah, I really like how this looks. I think it looks a lot more realistic this way. I was also really paranoid that this didn't look like a sandcastle, which is probably really silly of me, but when I added the sand, I was like, no, it definitely looks like a sandcastle now. So yeah, hopefully you guys like that. But I do the interior in this video. I don't know if I said that or not, but I do the interior. That's how we end up with the 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It is for 3 Sims, and I was thinking 2 adults and a like teenager. I did have a sort of storyline for this family. I know you guys are probably like, oh, another storyline. I have to come up with storylines for everything. If you're new here, I like stories. I like to tell stories. But so my storyline is not as in-depth as usual this time, but I'll tell you it anyway. So what I was thinking was, it's a family of 3, as I've said, you know, 2 parents, a teenager. I was thinking like a teenage son and then 2 parents, but it doesn't really matter. And I was thinking that, you know, who's gonna live in a sandcastle? But then I thought, well, there's 2 options. One, they're either mermaids, which is really cool, and I have actually never played with mermaids. I know, unbelievable, but they could be mermaids. Or I was thinking that this was maybe here a long time ago from mermaids. And like maybe this was a home that they had, because obviously I know that mermaids would like live in the sea, but in The Sims, mermaids don't really live in the sea, if that makes sense. Like they still live in houses. So I thought maybe this was like a house for mermaids, and you know, mermaids don't live here anymore. You know, it's been abandoned, it was kind of left. It's a very old building, and I was thinking this family came along and they didn't renovate, but they moved in, and you know, they decided to keep their modern things like their TVs and their computers and stuff, but they wanted to keep it very similar to how it actually looked, and that's why they kept very older, like rustic looking vibes, like the stone walls, and the inside of it is very like old-timey vibes, even though they still have like electronics and electricity and things like that. I mean, so yeah, they kind of like not renovated it, but they used it in their own way, and they kept the inside almost exactly how it used to be. I don't know. I thought that was a nice storyline. I don't think anything bad happened to the mermaids that used to live here. I think that they probably just thought, there's too many people here. Maybe like it became very overpopulated. Like maybe Tartosa was once quite empty and there was quite a lot of like quiet spaces, and then as it sort of went on, it became a little bit more touristy. It became more people wanted to live here because I mean it's a beautiful world. I love Tartosa. But something like that. And so the mermaids kind of like, that's when they left and they were like, let's go to Solani instead. Because of course mermaids are from the Island Living expansion, so if you do want to play with mermaids, you need to have that pack. But yeah, I thought that was a cool storyline. Obviously, you can do with this whatever you like. You can just have it that people want to live in a sandcastle. You don't have to be as in depth as me. But yeah, I'm just strange like that. But anyway, we are getting to the inside. As you can see, we have started off with the kitchen here, and I really like this kitchen, but it doesn't end up looking like this in the end. I end up changing, sorry, just can't speak. Ended up changing the swatches to be a lot lighter tones. I think I went for like browns and things like that because I was like, I don't know, I just liked the way the browns looked. And I thought that the darker tones were a little bit too much, like a little bit too dark, because at first I wanted the inside of this place to be completely like beige and sandy and look very like neutral. But as I sort of went through with it, I was like, no, I actually think I'd like to add a little bit of colour to this place, because if we're following that storyline that I said about, it's still a family home, it's still being used by a family, so I thought it made sense. Now, as you can see, you've probably seen a little bit there, but I was having problems with like the walls turning black and stuff. That is honestly, these round walls, they were stressing me out so much. But yeah, I did end up fixing it. If you do experience any problems like that, what I did was I just went to manage worlds and then I went back into the game, and it seemed to fix it. I don't know if it will every time, but that's what I did every time, just because I was like, I can't deal with this. It was too much. But yeah, anyway, so we are doing the kitchen right now, and I really like it. I think it is so cozy. It's a really big kitchen. There's a lot to it, and I really like it. But I will say, you've probably noticed that there's like these 2 cylinders on the side of the house. Actually, I think there might be 4 cylinders on the side of the house, and I do not end up making them accessible. I don't put any doors leading to them, and they're not functional. This is because of the way round walls work. You can't connect like square rooms to round rooms, and so I couldn't put a door in that would take you through to those rooms. So I ended up just leaving them blank. They're empty. They're not technically like part of the house. But there is 2 round rooms upstairs, and I managed through a lot of tweaking to make those rooms. So hopefully that's okay and you don't mind it. It's still a very big house nonetheless, even though there is like these rooms missing. I still think it's a very big cozy house. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I decided to clutter up this house a little bit more than usual. I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I want to clutter every single square inch of this whole place, and that is what I did. Like, I was just having such a fun time with it. I think I want to explain the best I can how I sort of do the cluttering up without it being a nuisance. So I'm going to explain it, but please bear with me, because I might not be very good at explaining it. So as you can see, we have like those shelves that are above one of the cabinets, and I cluttered them up completely. And something that's annoying is that they would snap to the cabinet. So the first thing I do is I pull the cabinet out so that there's no way that the objects that I'm pulling out from, you know, the buy menu can clip to it. And then I got one of the other shelves, which is like, I end up using it a lot, but it's like this white shelf with 3 shelves on it. I use that unit and I line it up to the shelf that I want to put the stuff on, and I place it right next to the shelf. And then with the objects I want to clutter up with, I put those onto the shelf, and then I hold Alt and I drag the object onto the shelf that I want them to look like they're on. I hope that makes sense. And the reason I do it like this is because if you do it that way, it keeps them at the right height, and it means you don't need to click like your bracket keys to raise anything. And also, bracket keys are very inaccurate and they kind of place everything awkwardly up, so sometimes you can click it once and then it's too high, and then you can click it again and then it's too low, and you can't get that like precise positioning. So that's why I do it like this. You can also do it with the tool mod, but I find that if you need to use the tool mod continuously, it can be a little bit much. So yeah, that's why I said this. But see, if you want me to do like a tutorial on that, or if you want me to do like a little short or something, I might just do that anyway, and that may be easier to explain. But anyway, talking a little bit more about this place. So the kitchen is very big, we're almost done with it, and I ended up putting a dining room in here. I also do end up removing the little banisters that are like separating the kitchen and the living room, because it ends up feeling much cozier just having it always like one big room. So I hope that's okay. But here is the living room, and this is when I started to feel like everything looked a little bit too washed out. I used these chairs and sofa from the Horse Ranch expansion, and they're in these very light beige swatch, which is gorgeous but obviously quite washed out. But I wanted it to feel sandy. I still wanted to bring that feeling of like sand from the outside to the inside, which is why I did that. But what I did to kind of balance it out is I used this rug which has quite a bit of colour on it, and then I also put a lot of clutter as I've been saying, a lot of clutter into this room, just to make it feel very full and very nice. And so yeah, I hope you guys like that. But anyway, what was that I was going to talk about? The castle estate kit. So I do want to talk a little bit about it. Oh, this is me doing that trick right now, by the way. So if you didn't know what I was talking about, here's the trick right here. But anyway, so the castle estate kit, obviously it's just came out. This was kind of my second time using it. As I said, I had like previously done a build with my boyfriends, but yeah, this was kind of like my second reaction to it and seeing how everything worked. Now I will say there's a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot of really cool objects that we got, and I absolutely love this like drawbridge looking gate thing. I think that looks so nice. I really like that. However, I do wish that we had received some more interior things, or not some more, just like some interior things, because we didn't get any. And I do understand it because it's a kit, and with kits I think that they are very limited with what they can give and how many items they can give. So I think it's like they can only give like 25 per kit or something like that. But I don't know, I just felt like it would have been so nice to have like, you know, to have like a kit that not only had all of that stuff, like the windows and stuff, or maybe not a kit, maybe like a pack that didn't just have all the windows and stuff, but also had some interior things. I don't know, I was just, when I was building this, I was like, it would have been so cool to have furniture I could put down, like tables, or even like a bed would have been so cool to get. But obviously, yeah, I do understand why they couldn't do it. And yeah, there's no disrespect to the Sims team. I know that they, you know, they brought us this kit, which is really cool, and I like it. I just, we're Simmers, we're always wishing for a little bit more. But maybe that's something that they're going to eventually bring out. Like maybe they are eventually going to be like, you know, people people really like that kit. Let's bring out some other stuff to do with like castles. I don't know if they will or not, but you know, fingers crossed. But as you can see, we are almost done with the living room. I end up adding a little bit more clutter and things, but I wanted the living room to feel very like full and cozy, and I wanted it to feel like it did have a family dynamic, even though from the outside it might look like, oh, it's just a sandcastle. I wanted it to feel so homey on the inside. Like, no, this actually belongs to a family. These people, like, they probably love history. I think that they're probably very into historic buildings, into historic things, events, like, and they just find this so cool. And obviously this is to do with like the Sims lore. This is like mermaids and how mermaids work, and they're probably very fascinated by mermaids, or they're probably very fascinated by just architecture and historic things. And so yeah, I feel like this family is just so fun, and they just love things like that. And yeah, I think that when this like teenagers in school and stuff, and they invite like people over, you know, from school, I feel like their friends are a bit like, "Ugh, you're joking, you don't live in a giant sandcastle," and they're like, yeah, I do. I don't know. I think I would be so impressed. Like, if I went to someone's house and it was a massive sandcastle, I'd be like, that's awesome. Like, this place is huge also, so yeah, it's a win-win, I think. But something I've not mentioned, I don't actually show me doing the bathrooms on video just because they're a little bit boring, but I made them very basic. So I didn't add a shower, I just did baths. There's two bathrooms, by the way, one is downstairs, one is upstairs. I just did baths, and then I did two sinks and a toilet, and I tried to make them a little bit older looking to follow that theme of like that they don't really want to renovate the older things. I also in the living room used the painting TV instead of a normal TV because I thought it looked a little bit out of place just having this castle and then like a massive a massive like TV. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. But anyway, we are moving on to the first bedroom, and I'm super excited because I don't know, I was just so excited to do the bedroom. Now this is the master bedroom. So this is for the parents of the house. And I used this bed, which I believe came with for rent, and then I put some chairs in here, a dresser, a TV, and I think just clutter and things. But to me, this room, it feels so cozy, so warm. I just love it. I will mention right now that I did not change the wallpaper to any of the walls. And if you want to change them, please by all means do. I just wanted to keep that feeling of like, this is a sandcastle, and that's why I did that. But obviously, or like it's just a castle in general, but obviously if you want to change that, please feel free. I will not be offended. But yeah, I just thought if you moved into a more historic place, you'd probably want to keep the walls quite, you know, that brick and that texture. I don't know, just to kind of feel it, unless you're like really planning on renovating. I don't know, I thought it made sense, but obviously change it if you think that's just a bit silly looking. But yeah, so here is the little TV I ended up using. Now I was going to use a better TV because I was like, it makes sense that they would have a better one, but I put down like other TVs and I was like, it just doesn't match. Like, it's not the vibe at all. Like, this house does not look like it should have that. So I ended up putting a study on the top floor, and even for that I didn't put like a proper computer. I did the typewriter because I was like, yeah, like it just fits so well. So see, honestly, see if you did want to use this as a, like, it, you know, they still don't have like access to technology and things, you honestly could, you really could. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like I would have stressed myself out if I gave myself those limitations, which is why I didn't. But here I'm just adding some shelving to the room, and I cluttered these up as well. Everything is so cluttered in this build, which I love. I think I want to focus on cluttering things up a little bit more often, just because like it's so nice and homey and realistic. And I don't know about you guys, but my room is very cluttered. I don't know if cluttered is the word or if it's just really messy, but I'm kind of like a hoarder. I don't really like to throw things away if I've had them for a very long time. And I feel bad when I put things in storage. Like, I actually feel like I can feel for the thing I'm putting away. Like, especially if it's like a cuddly toy, you know? I'm like, no, they need to all stay in my room because that's not fair. So, yeah, yeah. What was I even talking about? Yeah, clutter. So, yeah. I don't know about you guys. I know some people hate clutter, but I think in terms of building, they really do help to make builds feel a little bit more realistic and more full. So I thought it was nice, but we should be moving on to the top floor very soon, or not the top floor, the middle floor. And I'm not gonna lie, I struggled a little bit with the middle floor because it's like 2 columns, one big room where the ladder to the top and the staircase from the bottom is, and then like there's a kind of hallway bit where you can reach the terrace, because I wanted your Sims to be able to access the terraces. Is that the word? Terrace? Yeah, the balconies. I wanted your Sims to be able to actually get to them, so that you can take like little screenshots and they can be standing on the top of the castle. I thought that would be so sweet. But anyway, this is the top floor now. You can probably see what I was talking about, but yeah, it was just very awkward to build in, but this is the teenager's room. And as I said, I was thinking of a boy, but you can do whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. I didn't have like anything super set in place, but I thought that would be cool. And yeah, I think that he does have a lot of friends, but I honestly think instead of what I was saying earlier with like bringing people home, I think people do think it's cool when he like, invites them over and things. I think his friends do find it cool, but I feel like he doesn't like telling anyone because he's like, that's strange, like I live in a sandcastle. But yeah, I thought that was cool, and I just cluttered up his room as well. I added some like very basic things to these bookshelves, and then I added some more like teenager-esque things to shelves above his bed, because I felt like this doesn't look like a teenager's room. I need to add some stuff, and I really wanted to add posters, but because this is a fully round room, I couldn't add any posters because they would have, well, I did try to, and they just kind of like hang off the wall. It looks really weird. So yeah, I ended up just kind of trying to I don't know the word, make it look more teenager-esque by the furniture I used rather than like posters and stuff. But yeah, it's a very basic room. It's a very small room. I wasn't sure if it was actually going to work as a bedroom. I ended up making the other round room on this floor a bathroom, which I heavily debated because at first I wanted to make it a study, but I think it's so much cooler for the study to be on the top floor. So to get to the study, you actually need to climb a ladder. Can elders climb ladders? I feel like they can. I think it's just like babies and toddlers and infants that cannot. But yeah, I think elders can. But I was thinking that it is probably the dad's study. I think he works a lot. As I said, very into history. Maybe like he's a history teacher, or maybe he's something else. He could be like a paleontologist or something like that. That would be so cool. And maybe that's why I like beaches as well, because obviously there's a lot of like things that have been found on beaches, and studying like fossils and fossilization and things like that. I don't know. That's quite cool. But yeah, I was thinking that the study belongs to him, and he kind of does his work up there, and that's like his quiet space. And it's also quite nice because there's a door up there to the balcony, so he can literally just like get up, stand on the balcony, and like have a look over the sea, and he can have a look over like the whole city. And I thought that was so sweet. So yeah, That's what's upstairs. But here I wasn't really sure what to do, so I just added these like little sofas in. It's a little bit of extra seating for your Sims, and then this little area over here with the table. Now, as you can see, this is the door that takes you to the outside. It's just a normal door because I felt like everything else looked a little bit too much. But yeah, it just takes you to the balcony on that floor, and it's fully functional, so no worries about that. And then here is the very last room, and this is of course the study that I was talking about. And this place is pretty basic. I didn't actually clutter up as much as I did the rest of the house. But with the middle floor being kind of bare, actually, I don't know if I included it. I think I did, but I added this like statue to the middle floor as well because I thought maybe it was like a great ancestor or something. But yeah, I thought with the middle floor being like so bare, I would clutter this up, but maybe not as much, just for a little bit of balance, so that the middle floor doesn't look completely empty compared to everything else, especially compared to the first floor. The first floor is very full. But yeah, there is like this statue on the middle floor, and that's supposed to be their sort of ancestor. And I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know, they just sort of have it. Maybe he was a mermaid. I don't know. I'm just like giving you ideas. But anyway, we are coming to the end of this video, so I do just want to say a massive thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Please make sure to check out the description to find my Instagram or any other social media if you want to follow me on it. But yeah, thank you so much, and goodbye.